There we go. Hey, Mike, thank you for joining us on USA Biz Party. I am one of your big fans, and and look at he's just kind of like, yeah, I know.
No, I don't feel that way at all. I'm flattered that you feel that way. And I'm good
Well,
what you're doing. It's reciprocated. We've had now some time to at some events to spend some time together, and it's just impressive how you care for your community. I'm a fan of that.
oh well, thank you. Yeah, the way I got to know Mike, just for those who are listening and watching, is that somebody kept telling me, you need to read this book, Profit First, because I was having a lot of struggles with my finances. And I'm like, oh, yeah, another book about how I'm screwing up. And I really don't want to know. I
Mm.
really not sure I want to deal with this. Okay, so ego got involved. I get it. But I bought the book. And the very first thing, Mike, that you talk about is how you failed and what led you to start the book. And I thought, if he can share, and it was a pretty big, it was an epic failure you had there. And somebody who could share that, I thought I can learn a lot from. And so we're 3 years into Profit First.
Thank you. What's so interesting is that was a very difficult story for me to share. And the essence of it, for anyone listening in that's not familiar, I had been successful in growing businesses because I built them and sold them. But the behind the scenes truth was those businesses were never really fiscally profitable. Therefore, I thought that the way to build a successful business is build something fast that you can dump. So I tried that my third
Mm.
investment. It was a disaster. I lost all my money just out of arrogance and complete ignorance. And at my darkest moment, I lost my house, my possessions, my car. The only thing I didn't lose was my family. And my wife and children were sitting with me. I'm sobbing, explaining how poorly I'd run this business and what it's going to now cost us, losing everything. My daughter ran to her bedroom to grab her piggy bank, and she plopped it down in front of me and said, "Daddy, I'll provide for our family because you can no longer do it." And it's the most emotional, visceral moment of my life. I,
Yeah.
I know that when I'm taking my final breath on this planet, that's the memory I'm going to be revisiting. It was a defining moment for me. And the last thing I want to share, it's not like that moment was like, oh, now I know I got to fix this and how to fix it. No, the next minute was, I need a beer and two and three. And I started drinking to medicate myself.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
I really went through about 2 years of depression,
Ooh.
over drinking, um, and not knowing the solution. But it did plant a seed. And during that time, I started just to investigate and reconsider everything I thought I knew about entrepreneurship. And it put me on a path to ultimately simplify the entrepreneurial journey. So every book, that I've strategically positioned back there and more, every book I write is on fixing something I actually didn't understand in the past. I'm trying to resolve now. And hopefully in the process, I'm serving other entrepreneurs too.
And so this specific book, I'm going to say the name anyway, Fix This Next.
You
We have
nailed it. You nailed the tongue
I
twister.
did, didn't I? Woo!
Well done.
Okay, we have a story, but we won't. It's probably not appropriate for the live stream. But anyway, what led you to write this book? Because I want to get into the business hierarchy of needs, but
Yeah.
why did you write this book? What prompted you to do that?
So I've been very fortunate, Anna, that over the years now, I have folks who read my books who are engaged and serve me by answering the questions I have. So I will send out a request periodically on how or what I need to write about. It takes me about 5 years to write a book. Right now, I have 3 books in the works, one for next year, but I'm working on one that's still 5 or 6 years out. I just actually was working on it this morning, and it's not coming for a while. But this book, Fix This Next, I started working on 5 years ago. And it was triggered by an email I sent. I sent out an email and accidentally sent it out multiple times. Like I must have clicked too many times. I don't know. It just went out multiple times in the same day, which is embarrassing. But what was fascinating was the response. The question was, what is the biggest challenge you're facing this year? And the response changed from the same people on the same day, because people were receiving this email at the same time, the same day throughout the
Oh,
day.
wow.
Some people responded on the same day with different answers. Their
Oh,
biggest annual challenge in the morning was sales, in the afternoon was hiring, in the evening was systems. It became very clear to me that the biggest challenge business owners face is knowing what our biggest challenge is. That's why we're to solve that problem.
Yeah, and that's really so I have the book. I said this in the Twitter feed. I have it on Audible. I have the book.
Thank
and
you.
I have it on Kindle because for various reasons. One is you're very engaging when you're talking to people, but yeah, you are. I mean, listening to you in Profit First, there was a point where you said, "Okay, don't do anything else. Go down and get that Profit First account." And I was like, "Dog, I've never had anybody talk to me through a book."
Yeah, on the book, I know.
So, but the first inside the cover, it does say that the biggest challenge business owners have is they don't know what their business challenge is. Their biggest challenge is, and I think that's so true because when we sit down, even yesterday, I was sitting down and I looked at all the things I have to get done, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, where do I start?
Sure.
What is the most important thing?" And this is pretty common across a lot of business owners, particularly entrepreneurs, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I actually label it the survival trap. What it is we as business owners, as a general population, simply are in a position of surviving the day. So we may have a plan or a vision, like what we want to accomplish this year or this month. You may even have a plan for the day when you walk in, but it seems like email and questions at the side are really outside the door are dictating what you need to do. There's a saying that it is the entrepreneur's nature to rush to the urgent over the important. And I want to put a little tweak to that. It's true, except for one element. We don't rush to the urgent, we rush to the apparent. And here's what I want to differentiate. There, right now, Anna, you could log into your email, and I bet there's 50 things you could do, checking on your properties, answering such and such complaints or needs, working with and a colleague maybe has something that they're facing. There are tons of apparent issues. We, the entrepreneur, the next one we see, we're the one who places urgency on it. So we elevate, of all these problems, we elevate and say, this is the one I got to tackle right now.
Yeah.
We apply urgency. What we need to do is find the impactful. And at any given moment within a business, there can only be one specific need that's the most important need. By the definition of the word most, there can only be one that's most. Here's the analogy I use that hopefully clarifies this. If you and I had like a chain between each other, and the goal here is to break the chain. If you and I pull with as much force as we could, the chain will break, but it will always break in the same spot, the weakest link. And we could even try to break it elsewhere by giving it a little slack or pulling harder. But regardless of what we do, the chain will always break in the weakest spot. As business owners, we're trying to fix all the links randomly, whatever the most apparent issue is, whatever we place urgency on. So we're fixing links, and the business keeps breaking the same spot. And we're like, why is this happening? Why is the business still weak? Because it's that one link that needs to be resolved. So with Fix This Next, it's a simple diagnostic tool that relatively instantly will find the weakest link. The beauty is this: if you want to strengthen the chain, fix the one weakest link. By making that stronger, the entirety of the chain has become strengthened. If we fix the one vital need in our business, the entirety of the business gets strengthened.
And you've based this on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right?
Yeah.
So you've taken Maslow's hierarchy of needs and you said, okay, let's take that and let's mirror it in a business.
Yes.
So there's the bottom level, which is I got to be able to breathe. And in a business, I got to be able to have money. So what's the base level in the business hierarchy of needs?
The base level need is sales. And just translating it to your point, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is based upon human needs. Base level for us is we need to breathe oxygen, right? If we don't have oxygen, we're done. And we need food and water. There's certain, what he calls physiological needs. And only once they're adequately satisfied can we elevate the higher level needs in the human need structure, which is safety, belonging, and so forth. Well, this is very similar to a business, but we have to understand that it is a business's needs. These aren't our needs translated. This is what the business needs. And therefore, while we are wired into ourselves, I know when I'm hungry or if I can't breathe, we don't instinctually know what the business needs. Many entrepreneurs, myself for decades, said, I'm going to trust my gut, my instinct, and found that actually is not sufficient. It's really empirical data. Our gut instinct could be a beacon of something to investigate, but we need to back it with data. So the business hierarchy of needs is something we can evaluate just looking at the data. And it's not complex stuff. It's just look at your accounting system, if you have one. Just look at some of your sales metrics, whatever you're doing to track your business. Here's the base. It's sales. Sales is the creation of oxygen, if you will, for the business. If you have no oxygen, the business is suffocating.
Yeah.
So we have to start with sales. But the one point I want to make here that already confuses so many entrepreneurs that don't understand the business hierarchy of needs, feel that sales cures everything. Sadly, there's some pundits who say that, oh, sell your way out of it. Sales cures everything. That's total bull. It does not. Sales are necessary, but not sufficient. Meaning sales creates cash, but we need to be able to have a mechanism to retain cash so the business can continue healthily. We need to build efficiencies, have impact on our clients. Those things all have to happen too, but foundationally it starts with sales.
Right. And I love how you said that sales, we've been told sell your way out. And I'm going to be honest with you. I lived under that mantra for years. I thought, okay, we're low on money. So all I have to do is go sell more apartments. All I have to do is go get more properties. All I have to do. But the problem was I didn't have a mechanism in place through like Profit First to retain that. And I certainly didn't have systems.
Yeah.
So that I wasn't enslaved to my business. Now I was having, go ahead. You're going to say something?
You just said the key word, enslaved by the business. Sales becomes shackles. And here's what I mean. The more sales an organization has, the more responsibility the organization has, right? So if you sell me something, now you have to deliver on that, the property, whatever it is.
Right.
When you sell to me, and now you have the obligation to deliver it, the more you sell to others and me, the more obligation you have. And as a small business owner who often carries a lot of the weight of the business on their shoulders, that translates to stress for us. So sales translates this tremendous stress or shackles for the business owner. And what our experience is we don't have enough cash. We say, got to sell our way out of it. We make more sales. There's still no cash, but now there's more stress. And these businesses become very top heavy. So sales are necessary, but must be balanced out with profit, the extraction of profit. That brings sanity. That gives us financial freedom. It tears away those shackles. Then we can boost sales a little bit more to expand the health of the business or the impact of the business and increase profitability to retain more and keep on ratcheting both up.
Right. And here, let me see if I can get it in here. There it is. So I'm going to hide my face.
Business hierarchy of needs. I can see it. Yeah. It's a little bit blurred out, but I can see it.
So sales and then profit, order, impact in the top. Whoops, up here. Can't see it very well because of the lighting. There you go. Perfect. Yeah. So you've got, I like how you broke it down into get and give.
Right.
Get and give. Can you talk a little bit about that distinction? Because I think a lot of us, we want to be able to give into the community, right? We want to be able to, like I do, I want to be able to do that. And so it can become kind of a push pull, like I should be giving, but my company, how do we balance that, Mike?
Yeah, and it's necessary. So this is the whole hierarchy. This is if you will, the DNA for business. This is what your business needs in what order. The foundation is always sales. Then there's profit, orders, efficiency. Impact is transformation, serving clients at a level where it's no longer a transaction, but transformative. Legacy is the ability to give for generations. The thing is, many businesses, not for profits, are notorious for this. Try to leap levels and say, you know what? I've started a business to have impact. I want to change this world. I want to cure this disease. But we don't think about sales, the not-for-profits, contributions. We don't think about profitability, stability. We simply say we want to change the world. And then the business collapses upon itself. Business not-for-profits are notorious for their failure rate. And sadly, for-profit businesses, many should be relabeled not-for-profit because we're talking about giving, serving without getting. What get to give is that if we don't have sales, profit, and efficiencies throughout the organization, we can't contribute to society. I saw there was in our own town here with this COVID pandemic, there was a restaurant when March 15th hit and they said, we're shutting down restaurants. They said, it's more important than ever that we give to our community. People are losing jobs. We're going to be great contributors. And they started to discount prices and be a service to the community. 2 weeks later, they closed their business forever. And people were heralding them. Wow, they gave their all. And I'm like, shame on them. They only gave for 2 weeks. They had the ability to give throughout this entire crisis. They had the ability to give for decades to come if they took care of themselves. They were selfish by not self-caring, in my opinion. If they were sustainable, and that's what sales, profit, efficiency brings, if they're sustainable, you can contribute. And this is the analogy of putting the oxygen mask on. The reason we do that is we need to be able to breathe in order to help other people breathe. If we simply say we're going to let everyone else breathe and we suffocate, we're done. So I see these businesses suffocating. You must get sales, profit in order. It's an absolute responsibility of our businesses, because then when we have that, we're sustainable. When we have the comfort of supporting our lifestyle the way we envisioned, we don't have the worry of surviving check by check. And with that lack of worry and the confidence and stability, we can focus forward and care for our community. You must get in order to give. That's why there's those two layers.
And, as you were talking about that, it reminded me of a mistake I've made. And I remember you talked about, I can't remember if it's in this book. I've read so many of your books, so you'll have to tell me which book this one is in.
I can remember, yeah.
But you talk about how it was a very difficult day when you had to walk into your company and start laying people off.
Yeah.
Because you wanted to be magnanimous and give all of this stuff, and you had overhired, and now you didn't have the wherewithal to sustain that in your company. And I've done that. I am sure there are a lot of other people who have done the same. How did you address that? How was, besides?
Yeah, I think I wrote about that in Fix This Next, maybe also in Clockwork. And it's a very humbling moment. What happened was I had a forensics business, computer forensics. We would do crime investigation. And it was a very successful company outwardly. Revenue was growing exponentially. We were ultimately acquired by a Fortune 500. It was never profitable. That was the dirty secret. It was never profitable running. It was always check by check. And when we hit that first million, which only took a year to get there, it wasn't profitable. Like, wow, maybe 3 million. We got there, it wasn't profitable. It was on a run for 7 million when we sold it, and still was not profitable. In fact, had accumulated over $400,000 of debt, or $300,000 of debt. Here's what happened. We hit this D-Day. We were so living check by check that if we weren't getting a big project in, we were screwed. And this 1 month came, the money didn't come in. We couldn't get a project. I had to line up, I had 30 employees, I had to line up my colleagues and say, kind of like Survivor Island or something, like, I can't believe I have to do this, but I had to let half of the team go here. And the thing was, it wasn't their fault. It wasn't like people weren't performing and putting their best in. They were. It was me. I wasn't fiscally responsible. I didn't understand the finances. Mm-hmm. I had to let everyone go, or half the team go. And I'll tell you, it's devastating for the people that go, and it's devastating for the people who stay. Morale was crushed. I even went back to the people who stayed and said, this isn't enough letting those people go. I need to cut salaries by 10% across the board. And that was a punch. Not only did I tell these people that were left, you have to do more work because I just fired half the people, you have to do more work for less money. And that was a devastating move. I learned from that, but I'm ashamed that I brought that upon them. It was no one's fault but mine. It's all about fiscal responsibility, and I didn't understand it. The funny thing was, a week later, we landed the big one, a big project, and I was able to bring all the people back to their original salaries without doing that cut. I was actually able to bring some employees back, but it was too late. The sour taste was in their mouth. I already had showed them I didn't understand the finances and that they were at an unstable company. I ultimately lost some employees because they started seeking employment elsewhere that day. They had to preserve themselves. Right. So if you focus on sales, I found sales will never give you that escape. You're not going to break gravity at a certain point and money starts rolling in. Profit is not an event. It doesn't happen magically. Profit is a habit. We need to bake into the business. There must be a system to extract profit in every transaction. And if you have that system in place, then as you scale on sales, you'll also scale on profitability, the health of the organization.
And ultimately, you are protecting those people. You are protecting. Maybe you can't give them the raises that they're looking for or the bonuses, but you're giving them steady employment, and they understand the parameters that employment entails. And then ultimately, so thank you so much for sharing that. You get to share all your fun stories when you're talking to me, Mike.
Yeah, I was looking, there's a statistic, 7% of the global population are the weirdos like me and you who start and run a business. We're weirdos because we're taking on extraordinary risk.
Yeah.
93% of the population, that's the normal folks, are looking for a reliable, good job. Our job as entrepreneurs is not to do the work and scramble and panic. Our job is to create companies that can provide reliable jobs. That's our responsibility. And if we're not fiscally responsible, we're not providing that. If we don't build efficiencies, we're not providing that. If we're doing the work through hustle and grind, we're absolutely not doing that. Our job as entrepreneurs is to have a clear vision, organize resources around us like people, technology, vendors, to make that vision a reality, but to empower others to do the work who are looking for a good job with to provide that stability.
And that's ultimately what that's the legacy piece. That's the part where it's
Right.
sustainability. It is that you're building. I know I've talked to so many of your employees, and I will say that Mike's employees just love working for him. But I was talking to Jeremy, for example, yesterday. We were talking, and I was telling him I'm working on this book. I've had some challenges getting back to it because of some other things going on. But I was talking to him about the book, and he goes, "Do you know that we have 1 hour a week where we just sit and write? Mike has us just sit and write." I mean, you could sense the joy and how much he looks forward to that time. And those are the kinds of things that if you're taking care of your business, you can do for your employees so that they find fulfillment and satisfaction in the work that they're doing for you, which is a great thing to give people.
It's great. You know, it's funny. I'm working on a new book concept. Like I said, it's 5 or 10 years out. It's about employee engagement. We're all employees. Even the owner of the business, I'm an employee to my own business. And what I found is, this won't be shocking, but it's shocking on how poorly it's executed, at least how bad I did it, was that the goal of the business is not the goal of the business. I thought, setting a goal for $5 million in revenue is what we should do. And I came out, I announced to everyone, and it's a big wah, wah moment. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
What I found is everyone has their own vision and intentions for themselves. They want a work environment they like to work in. They're saving money for a house. They want to spend more time with their spouse. We all have our individual desires. And therefore, the goal of a business is to support the individual goals of the individuals. And if we can manifest and support the goals collectively, we are satisfying also the goal of the organization. That 5 million, that's my dream, but it's not Jeremy's dream or Kelsey's or Amy's. But collectively, everyone has their own dreams. If we're satisfying those, then everything's being satisfied, including mine. So that's our mission. Serve the employees' individual intentions and dreams, and the entire organization's dreams will be served.
Wow. Well, we are like 2 minutes. I know I have to let you go right at the bottom of the hour. Mike, thank you so much. I mean, every time we sit and talk, even if it's virtually like this, I learned so much. And, do you have just like a 1 minute thing that you can leave with our listeners, whether they're watching us live or they're watching the replay?
Sure. It's a simply responsibility. This COVID pandemic is a tough one, and it is affecting a lot of businesses very negatively. I see businesses shuttering and closing their doors. I do know this: out of every recession we've ever gone through globally, the number one factor in turning this around was the success of small business. And here's the thing: small business will succeed again. It always does. The new mega companies and mega successes are going to come out of this environment. We don't know their name yet. I do know they're small business, and they're repositioning themselves. And I simply want everyone listening in, if you're a small business owner, you have a responsibility to be successful. It's not just to serve your family. It's to serve your community, your country, our country, or our world. It is to be of service. So get up there, stand up, step forward, and let's kick some butt together and turn this economy around.
And if you want to know more about Mike, you should go to fixthisnext.com. You can actually download an analysis so you can see what really needs to be your very next focus to grow your business. So again, Mike, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being on the Twitter chat. We wish you well, and let's stay in touch.
Take care, Anna. Bye-bye. See you, everyone.